Thanks for joining us today. I have to admit, this is a clear case of a good idea taking hold, and before you know it, we're 14 years into the strolling of the Heifers. And with us to explain what's going on for magical year number 14 is the young lady we affectionately call Mother Heifer, one of the founders, Orly Munzing, and say moo to that. And to my left, Stacy Kahn and Shanta L.E. to talk about some of the different events going on during Heifer Weekend in Brattleboro, which, as you know, has really become big over this period of time. And you're probably one of the few people I know, Orly, who's been able to make money in agriculture.
Well, I wish we were able to make money in agriculture. Our organization is a nonprofit organization, so we give the money away.
And you even bought a building over the past year and a half.
Well, it was a very sweet deal. We basically took over the building, the ownership of the building from BABB. So, and we are renovating it thanks to USDA. We're getting some grants, and also some of the proceeds from Strolling of the Heifers is helping us renovate the building.
So all of this started with an idea on a lark that said, why not run cattle up Main Street?
Absolutely. It started 15 years ago. The story goes, the short version, I was entertaining some folks in my house who are merchants, and Brattleboro needed some facelifting and calling out to the world. And I asked folks, what do we have? And they said, well, we have Apple Days, we have this. And I said, no, we have the Holstein Association. Just march a bunch of heifers down the street like running of the bulls, and you'll put Brattleboro on the map. I also wanted to capture people's imagination and bring them back to the importance of buying locally and supporting our farms. Because at that time, my dear neighbor Dwight Miller told me that if we don't support our farms, we won't see them. And I took that very seriously. And here we are doing a good job. And it really takes a community. There are so many people from the community who help put this on. So I see it as a real community effort and helping farmers wherever they are.
Now, even growing up as a child, I remember there was a lack of appreciation about where food comes from and about the people who helped make it happen. But you've been able to turn that around quite a bit. How?
Again, it's because of wonderful people like you and the community who really pitches in and helps us tell the story, the important story. And we've been able to capture people's imagination with this amazing parade that I think could only be done in Brattleboro, Vermont. We've been asked many times to take it to other places, but I really don't think that we can create the same kind of fun parade, whimsical parade, as we have the ability to do in Brattleboro. So I feel very proud of that.
And of course, as we've all said in Brattleboro over the years, it really does take a village. And in this case, just a ton of volunteers and a lot of corporate sponsors too.
Absolutely. And our theme this year is Love Your Farmer. And in fact, some of you may have seen our wonderful poster that we have this year. I have to show it off because I just love it. And it is because in Brattleboro, we all love our farmers and really celebrate them. And that's what the message is this year. As every year, but we're really pointing that out because without our farmers, number one, we wouldn't have this community because this community is totally anchored from our farming community. We wouldn't have the same culture here if we didn't have all these wonderful farmers and farming community.
Well, as you know, it does take a lot of different elements to pull this all together. And maybe I want to start with the Slow Living Summit because that's what kicks off Heifer Weekend in Brattleboro. Shanta, you are one of the people heading up the Slow Living Summit effort. What did you think coming into this, and has your perception changed as yet?
Well, I always find irony in the fact that I'm involved with slow living because I move so fast. which is very important actually to point out, is while we're calling it slow living, there's also the emphasis on the word living, thinking about quality of life and taking a moment to slow down and bring in intention and a presentness and being in the moment. And so that's really one of the things that we're all about.
We've talked about this over the years that we've known each other, that really, while there is a certain quality of life here, the rest of the world, the outside world, the fact that your cell phone is your office has creeped in. And how do you develop strategies to pull back and say, wait a minute, and recapture what the specialness of living here is all about?
Well, that's a really good question, Tim. And we have had many conversations about the fact that we live in a very fast world, and it is getting more faster, and we're expected to be in all places at all times. And one of the things that is very special about the summit is we invite space, that special space for people to think about nurturing their relationships with themselves, think about how they're going to nurture relationships with their neighbors and with their community. It's really about giving back. In the ideology of a fast-moving world, as we all know, there's something being taken away, there's something being sacrificed, whereas with the conversation about slow living, or a lot of the slow movements, it's about giving back. What are you giving back to yourself, to your community, to your family, to your relationships? So to answer your question more directly, I think it's about taking time to take those moments to be present. Like I think I told you earlier, when I'm at dinner, I try to banish the phone. And by example, without lecturing my friends or whoever, hopefully they banish their phone too, so we can be present with each other and not think about being there at the dinner table and on Facebook at the same time.
And also, I'd like to add that slow living for me is just slowing down and reminding myself to be more mindful. And each person has a different journey with that. So for me personally, it's about being mindful, slowing down in that way, being a better listener, and letting go, which is always hard for me, and I'm really working on it. And that's what the whole Slow Living Summit is about. So each person has a different expectation of what they want to get out of it. And somehow people who attend the summit report back to us that they have these light bulb moments where they realize they're going to work on one piece. This year, it's all focused on food, and I'll let Shanta talk about why we came up with food and what all that is about.
That would be a great thing to ponder, especially because Vermont has really led the nation in the local food movement. How will the efforts of Slow Living Summit perhaps applaud and expand upon that?
It's a very good question. And as to continue on from what Orly said, as it comes to food in particular, food is a very connective thing. Food shapes our reality and how we connect to each other. So very true to the overall culture of slow living and connecting with each other in our relationships and our environments, the lands. Food is one of the things we want to invite people to think about, at least creating a space of bringing intention as you're in the grocery store, thinking about your bringing thoughtfulness to a certain decision about what you're eating, what you're putting on the plate, your relationship to the food and your body and your nourishment and wellness, and how you're really nourishing your spirit through food. So one of the things that we mapped out is we really wanted to create a journey with food, like literally the bigger food system, whether we're talking about the food's relationship to soil and the soil that we're using to grow our food, and how are we encouraging that to be healthy, to how are we creating a healthy environment around food through our policy, through our schools, the relationship between food and spirit and body, in mind, and also an aspect of food justice and posing the really tough questions for people to ponder about whether or not is everyone getting access to this good food. We're talking about good food, but does everyone have access to it, and how are we ensuring that? So those are some of the ways that we've carved out some questions. We don't have all the answers, but we certainly, again, it's about creating space to slow down and bring some mindfulness to all of these questions as we look to build each other and community.
So supporting local food production, not only just the quality, but quantity as well, different foods, and making them available to people of all economic spectrum. Who do you have coming in for speakers who can perhaps expand upon it?
So we have a wonderful lineup of all sorts of speakers. Some of our main speakers include Elisa Gravitz of Green America, who's going to be kicking things off in our keynote on Wednesday night. We have Dr. Finkelstein, who's known as our slow medicine doctor. He was actually just here a couple of weeks ago, and his talk is going to be focused on nourishing of the mind, body, and spirit through food. So getting us to really think about food, but then beyond that, and making our conscious decisions around food. We have Allison Hooper, who's going to be talking about land and legacy and entrepreneurship.
She's amazing.
Journey.
And she's also the owner of Vermont Creamery, which is a very successful cheese dairy producer in Vermont.
And we also have Laura Lingnick, who she collected stories from these farmers across the country who have adjusted their business model given what's happening in the environment and how are they sustaining themselves. So she's going to be bringing us a lot of stories. And then wrapping up with Vicki Robbins and Allie Berlow, they are going to be leaving us with some of the takeaways, as well as all the speakers, about what are some big and small things that people can do. We're not saying that you have to necessarily go out and start a farm. We're not necessarily saying that you have to go lead a march, but perhaps you're of a faith community and you want to create change there. Perhaps you want to talk to your neighbor and talk about starting a garden. So there are many different ways. And there's a thread of story, there's a thread of artistic expression that's going to be woven in that makes this a very unique experience, because as a part of changing and growing community is also the arts, and then how we're using the arts to bring life, and going back to, again, the focus on mindful, purposeful living to this whole picture. And this year, for the first time, we have cooking demos in the River Garden, hands-on cooking demos. So we're really excited about that. There's something for everyone to choose from here at the Slow Living Summit.
And people can get that information either if they go to the StrollingoftheHeifers.com, or they can go directly to the slowlivingsummit.org. But Shanta, tell them about the entertainment that we have totally woven into the conference. Rather than bringing the arts as an aside,
Yes.
We really exemplify how important it is to have the arts. Can you speak to some of that?
Sure. So some of what we have lined up, well, one of the key pieces, I mentioned earlier briefly about story. Story and connecting with our audience is extremely important. So the first night of the Slow Living Summit, we have something called What's Eating You, which invites a lineup of storytelling and a little bit of lightheartedness, but also encouraging people to ponder about our relationship. Sometimes even complex relationship about food. We also have, for example, Dr. Finkelstein has been paired with Suki, who does many things, but she also is a visual artist. So she's going to be doing live painting on the stage with Dr. Finkelstein. We're working with some artists and speakers who are talking about bringing an intention and inviting audience members to do a certain releasing into the community with something that is created. We have a belly dancer. Sindel Ellis is going to be paired with a couple of speakers who are on a happiness walk. And they're going to be doing a collaboration. So as Lori said, it's not just an aside. It's not just, oh, well, here's some pictures on a wall that you can go see. And by the way, here's some workshops. But we really made an effort to weave it in and tie it in such a way that most, if not all of the workshops are even, they're orchestrated in a way that it invites discussion and engagement with the audience to create. We're all invited to co-create this community and what it really means to be a part of slow living and slow down and bring some consciousness to our decisions.
So our speakers are asked to bring their stories. It's not a canned program that they go from conference to conference. So there's no PowerPoint presentation. It's basically like a TED Talk, but we've added another piece to it and incorporated the art. So while the speaker is speaking, the artist blends into it and weaves in and out. It is fantastic. Last year was the first year where we did it. It was an experiment. It was amazing. I walked up and down the aisle, and there wasn't one person checking their email or doing some work while listening to the conference. Everyone was totally engaged. It is the most amazing conference, and I highly, highly recommend to everyone make an effort. If you can't come for the whole conference, you can certainly come for part of it. No one is going to be turned away. We have a sliding scale for people with limited means. We want the whole community there. So we'd love to see you. Again, go to slowlivingsummit.org.
Oh, and there's another way I would just want to add. People are more than welcome to volunteer. So there's another way in which you can get involved with the Slow Living Summit is through volunteer. So we have many wonderful ways for people to be engaged with what we're doing.
And another part of Heifer Weekend is the fact that there's a big party at the River Garden Friday night as part of the gallery walk. Stacy, I understand that you're a big part of that this year. What exactly is planned?
Well, to start from 5 o'clock to 8:30 inside the River Garden, we will be having the judging of our annual bread baking competition. And in addition, we have a handful of specialty alcohol vendors that will be there to sample their products, as well as specialty food vendors. So that's happening inside. And then from 5:30 to 8:30, right on Main Street, we have our Friday Street Festival that will be happening. And I know that the Slow Living Summit, it's the year of the food. The Slow Living Expo and the Friday Street Festival are following that trend too. We have amazing vendors coming with a wide variety of really delicious foods, crafters. There will be community organizations there raising awareness, and it will be one big block party.
You know, some of the producers that have come in for the street fairs in past years, I've actually changed some of my product decisions based on what they've done, because the quality has been fantastic.
Yeah. And so the street festival is to be enjoyed. It's a real community gathering. It's really like the first time that people are, after being cooped up all winter, there is this wonderful, oh my God, we can be outside, and it's like Brattleboro used to be, community members meeting each other, the street is closed. It's a big agricultural Mardi Gras. It's a lot of fun, a lot of grandparents, a lot of grandchildren, a lot of kids and parents and strollers and young and old. And you know what the best thing, Tim, is?
What's that?
Everyone is smiling. And we need to smile more. And it's just so wonderful just to see everyone so happy.
Well,
It's so gratifying.
I'll give you a hint, Orly, when you feed them, they're very happy.
It's more than that. Oh, and also Friday night, what we tried last year, and it worked out beautifully. We used to have all these entertainers that we went and contracted. Well, we're asking the community to come out and entertain. And we did it last year, and it was so much fun. People just came with their guitars, or they created little dances and had various demonstrations right on the street. And we recognize the incredible talent in this community. So it's time for everybody to just come out and bring the inner cow out of them and give us some music.
Oh. So we'll all be mooing at the moon then.
That's right. There we go. So what are you going to do, Tim?
Oh, I'll probably do my share of mooing.
Okay.
But this is fun, and of course, throughout the entire stroll weekend, you'll have information about all the different events and information about local producers as well.
Absolutely, and if you really want the information, which we highly recommend, with a map, with all the specifics, go to www.strollingoftheheifers.com, and Heifers is Heifers, or stop by the River Garden. If you need to get your Strolling of the Heifer gear beforehand and you don't want to pay the shipping in our store, stop by the River Garden. We have all that over there. We'd love to have you have one of these great t-shirts that I'm wearing and Stacy's wearing and Tim is wearing our apron. I can't help it.
Well, you know, you said it's love your farmer year. You
Absolutely.
also have to appreciate the cooks who would do some amazing things locally with locally produced products.
Totally. So I hope that everybody does come and enjoy it. It's a blast.
What kind of corporate support have you gotten this year with the stroll?
Well, our big sponsor is Merchants Bank, and we really couldn't do it without them. They're just wonderful to work with. We have Commonwealth Dairy, that's also amazing and very, very supportive of whatever we do. And also CNS and UNFI. And Merchants Bank, and I just said that, and Key Bank, and Bravo Savings and Loan, and of course Bravo Memorial Hospital, another wonderful and utterly smooth, and White Wave Foods, and Rudy's Organics, and of course locally Against the Grain. I mean, I can keep going on, and for those who are interested, go to our website, www.strollingoftheheifers, and really see the amount of sponsors. And really, they do it because they're doing it for the cause. And they realize that the Strolling of the Heifers, for example, we have a business planning competition, and the governor is helping us with that. We're giving out $68,000 this year. Right after the stroll, we have a special program to train low-income and veterans and create jobs for them. It's a 3-month program where they were learning about nutrition and kitchen skills. And all year round, we have various events at the River Gardens and are planning on more. We're also looking for community feedback, and we'd love to have more people involved year round.
Certainly, it's been great to see the building very active on a 7-day week.
Do you
basis.
like our new sign?
I do.
Isn't that cute?
That it is. So this is just a sampling of what's going on throughout the weekend, but again, what started off as a couple of days has easily now become a 5-day event.
That's right. Absolutely. And we're just so excited. We just can't wait. And I also understand that we have the same weather committee from last year. They did such a good job that we decided to keep them. And they are really working hard at bringing us incredible, marvelous weather.
Well, you've done a marvelous job.
It's a marvelous committee that does that.
That it is. And farmers have had this special relationship with the weather all throughout time and without history. And it's good to know that you've been able to massage the weather enough that you can really make it sunny even when it doesn't want to be.
Absolutely. And last year was a wonderful year because it was our 13th year. This year it's our 14th year, and it was our
Bar mitzvah.
bar mitzvah.
Yes. After all, the cows are now heading for adulthood.
Exactly. Exactly.
So there's plenty more to talk about with the strolling of the Heifers. And again, we are with Orly Munzing, Stacy Kahn, Shanta L.E. Thank you so much. Let's give a moo because we're going to take a break and come back with more information about the annual strolling of the Heifers. Thank you again. And as the heifer strolls, we have more guests to bring on board, along with Orly Munzing, the mother heifer. Beth Kendall is in charge of entertainment for the stroll weekend, and Beverly Langeveld has brought an air of distinction to the bread baking competition as part of the weekend. And Bev, I want to talk about that first, because there's always a subtle change in what's being cooked every year.
Yeah.
So why bread?
Well, bread is the staff of life, and it's a great opportunity for people, both amateurs and professionals, to give us their best recipe for bread, whether it's a quick bread, which is one that's made without yeast, or a yeast bread, which is one that rises and usually involves kneading. And we'd like to hear the story behind the bread and why they chose that recipe to enter into the contest.
Because one of the things that many farmers and farm families have are these recipes that are handed down through generations, and each generation tweaks it a little bit, and hopefully they've written it down.
Hopefully, yes, that's the thing. And if people wanted to enter, which we hope they will, they can go to the Stroll site, the website, and go to the link for the Stroll weekend. And on that, it'll say baking competition. And when they click that, there's an entry form. It has all the instructions of what they are to do with that. We want them to use standard measurements and make the instructions readable and simple if possible. And don't leave anything out, especially if it's one of those special recipes with a special ingredient. We want that too. So, and if there's a story, some of our entries already have some great stories about that, including what you've just mentioned.
Yeah, in fact, the Grange movement was very, very strong throughout the region, and still is in parts of the region. And the different farm families would get together and cook on the weekend, and it was really how a lot of great foods were handed down.
I'm sure.
So you'll be giving out the awards on Friday night during the weekend?
Yes, we will. There are, as I said, 2 contests, and there are prizes in each category. And we're hoping to have somebody very special to give the awards out. And we have
the governor.
Like the governor. And we have some great local judges. Some are new and some have done this before, to help us with the judging contest at the River Garden on Friday night.
Gosh, I was counting on Betty Crocker.
I don't think she's available anymore.
Okay, I just figured I'd ask, but
We have people better than Betty Crocker.
okay. So you have been involved in a number of contests. Well, in many ways, even as a sampler, what makes this contest special during Heifer Weekend?
Well, it's special because it's community. It's part of sharing with the community something that's special to you or to your family, and then after the breads are judged, they're offered to the public to sample.
And what are the prizes that we will be giving out?
We have some great prizes from King Arthur Flour and Cabot, some gift baskets and some certificates, and I think people would be very happy.
And people can go into our website, www.strollingoftheheifers.com, and go to the bread competition, and they can see the list of prizes and so forth. And the registration is really easy. It's not a difficult one.
Oh, it's all online, yes. And it's just, fill in the forms.
If you can bake bread, you can fill out the forms.
Let's hope so.
Well, that's great to know. I can't wait to see who the winner is, and can't wait to try some of the winning recipes.
Yes.
And there would not be a stroll weekend without entertainment. Beth Kendall, you have held up your end of the bargain on finding entertainers throughout the lifetime.
14
Yeah,
years.
14 years.
My goodness. So you are involved with getting the entertainment going for the Slow Living Expo on Saturday?
Yes. We have entertainment both on the retreat grounds and up at the Common in the gazebo. Actually, this year we're putting we've always had a youth music tent down on the retreat grounds. This year, the youth are going to be featured up on the Common in the gazebo, and we have some folks we've had in the past and some new participants. Actually, we just made a couple changes today because of cancellations, but our favorite a cappella groups will be here again, Expressivo and Children Narrows. Dan Sengel's, which is Gabby Walton's group, another young group, the Snaz, that are making it big all over the country. So we're lucky they still will be present at our event. But
Are you saying how they're going to keep them down on the farm?
How are you gonna, yeah, now that they've seen probably San Francisco, hell with Paris. Jana Zeller's coming back again with Casper the Cow, and there are, that's not music, sorry. Anyway, so up at the Common, that's pretty much what's happening up at the Common. There's the youth music, and there will be a big tent. They'll be on the gazebo, but there will be a tent for the audience in case of too much sun or whatever that other stuff is that sometimes comes out of the sky.
No, we don't say that word.
Okay.
We don't say that word here.
Now, so then we'll move down to the retreat.
We'll
move. Oh my God. Now I can see myself. This is terrible. Anyway, down at the retreat, we have the CNS Entertainment Tent. Thank you again, CNS, as always, for providing us with this opportunity to do great kids entertainment. We have a bunch of different shows this year. I mean, as I said, Jana Zeller is coming back to do Casper the Cow. And like several of the shows, we're doing short shows so that young kids and people who are wandering around can enjoy them, and people who come later can enjoy them again. So we've got several half-hour shows. We have a group that is called Lily Guana that is going to do more fun safety education program. We have the Mad Science that's going to do a program. These guys also are vendors. They also have booths, so they'll be there all day. NECA will entertain all afternoon, and it's just this beautiful shady spot where people can lounge and awed by the performances. Also, we have some adult music in a tent down in the Common this year, and I was trying to focus on country and fiddle and more of that sense this year. So classic country, which is a Kevin Perry, etc. band, is going to play. Kevin, when he's not fixing someone else's sound system, will zip over to his own stage and perform. The Santa Croce, this is a group of kids. There's a family of 10, and we've got the 6 oldest ones, and they play all sorts of strings and sing. They've got phenomenal harmonies. They're going to be performing. Also, Franz Robert, who's our great young jazz musician in town, is going to be performing with either his trio or quartet, and the Speckers, who are, again, another kind of bluegrassy, fiddly, country fun band. But the third tent this year is new entertainment. We are having a human foosball game. Tournament. I call it a tournament, but depending, we'll see. I'm not talking about what the prizes are yet. That's a surprise, because there really, at this point, is no entry fee. So, except for teams that sign up, teams of 6. Now, there is information if anyone wants to Google human foosball. There are some great videos, but anybody who's seen it just grins. So this is a foosball court. It's going to be 14 by 30. It's set up so that there are, if you know foosball, right?
Of course.
Okay, so there will be 6 players on a team, which gives us 6 little poles, right? So you've got, just picture this. You got poles going all the way across. You have PVC pipe or some hollow pipe over the poles. The participants hold on to the pole and they move together just like your little stick figures do when you play foosball, and they kick that soccer ball and they try to get goals. Now, for soccer players, it could be very frustrating because this is not soccer. No experience necessary, because is there really much experience? I don't know.
Can be.
If you look at the videos, they're hysterical. So this is what we'd like is for people to sign up ahead of time for teams of 6. You can contact me. Is the contact information on the website for contacting me? Yeah, you can contact me at 802-254-4270. I'm Beth. Or email me, but that's harder to. It'll be on the website,
The
so
easiest
people
thing to
can
do
find
is
it.
strolling.theheifers.com.
And if you send something to strolling.theheifers.com, it'll get to me. We are giving out prizes for the most wins, and also for the best costume. Costumes are not required, but if you want to look heifer-esque, you have a chance of winning something. And it doesn't even need to be total costume. It could be a tie, a hat, a sign, a whatever. And then I think that depending on how many teams are set up ahead of time, we'll have pickup games. So people who are actually coming to the fairgrounds, to the expo, can sign up to join a team, and we'll have games going. We have 2 great young men who are running the games. Yay. They should make it interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you have for questions about human foosball? You gonna get a radio team?
Human foosball. I mean, it takes more people to run a human foosball team than it does to run a radio station, actually. And we don't normally have to hold on to a pole.
But I thought you keep 5 other Tims in the closet, because you're all over the place.
Oh, well, that could be. I mean,
Could they all show up, would be the question.
I have to worry about that. They might all call in sick.
Oh.
So no, it sounds like plenty of great entertainment.
Well, also Friday night, I do want to say, Alan Greenleaf, who talked about being around 14 years, he wrote our original heifer song and has written a new one.
Coming to town.
And he's written a new one this year called "Love Your Farmer." Love Your Farmer.
No, the Heifers kids have graduated college and they've come back home, and they're living in the basement.
There you go. So Alan will be performing downtown on Friday night, along with Ed the Wizard, who will do some balloon twisting and magic in the streets. And then again, we're inviting folks who generally tend to come down on Friday night to come set up as they usually do. Just not Friday night, but gallery walk night.
Of course.
We want the public to be able to continue performing for us, and that's about.
And the Goat Olympics.
The Goat Olympics, of course.
Oh,
the Goat Olympics are back. Yes. On the retreat grounds. You can bet on. I mean, you can suggest that you think one might win or lose, or.
Well,
you can have your favorites.
You'd have to be on the horns of a dilemma not to do that. Wow, Goat Olympics.
Yeah, they can kick your butt. Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell you what, we're going to take a short break and then come back and talk about the Heifer Parade, also Tour de Heifer, and much more as the Strolling of the Heifers weekend continues here on BCTV.
Come on down.
And the guests just continue to roll in with the Strolling of the Heifers. In fact, along with Orly, I am just so pleased to have Hannah Thurber, who is probably one of the more special people on this earth. Not only did she grow up on the family farm, but she's helping coordinate the Tour de Heifer. Now, what is Tour de Heifer for the uninitiated?
Sure, the Tour de Heifer is in its 5th year, and we have 3 rides, and it happens on Sunday. So if you want to stay for the whole weekend, it's a great way.
So this is a bike ride?
Yeah, it's a bike ride.
Okay.
It's a bike ride, sorry. I just assume ride, bike. So it's a bike ride, and it's also a hike, and it also involves lunch and music on the farm afterwards. There's something for almost everyone. So if you like to walk, there's a great hike up Round Mountain. You can have lunch afterwards. If you like to bike a little bit, you can do the 15-mile ride. It's about half pavement, half dirt road. Mostly flat. I hesitate to say mostly flat, because I would say it's about half flat. And then there's some rides for people who really enjoy riding their bike on dirt roads. There's a 30-mile ride and a 60-mile ride. Although in all fairness, I should say it's actually 63 miles.
Okay, well that's fair. So you ride your bike a lot. What is the attraction for you that gets you to look at the landscape slowly while you're riding?
Riding is a great way to see the landscape. It's also a great way, during the Slow Living Summit section of this show, they were talking about being present and having a journey, and bike riding is all of that. You're right there, you're riding your bike, you're listening to your breathing, you're listening to the sound of your tires on the dirt road, you're looking at the landscape as it goes by, and everyone approaches the ride in a different way. Some people are really concentrating on challenging themselves and making up that hill as fast as possible, and other people are just enjoying the landscape and looking around them. And sometimes you do both on a ride, so it has a lot to offer.
So do you want to know what I do when I ride Tour de Heifer?
Sure.
I think of the lunch.
Really?
I can't wait to get back to eat the lunch.
Food is really important.
The food is amazing. There are a tremendous amount of SAG stops. Those are little rest areas. And we cater to the riders. And Hannah is in charge of getting everyone together. We have porta potties. People feel that they're very well taken care of in comparison to other rides. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. We start out with a breakfast at registration, bagels and coffee, something to get you going. And then there are several different water and snack stops along the way to replenish your supplies and to replenish you. And there's a couple of people driving around behind the riders who have supplies and can help fix your bike if something might go wrong, or give you a ride home if something else goes wrong and you just can't make it. So it's a pretty well supported ride, and then you have lunch when you get back.
Now tell me about the lunch. I knew I would get to that.
Well, Tristan Tolino, number one, is the caterer, he's amazing. When he is not up in Montpelier, he really does an amazing job. There are a lot of various contributors to the lunch, all Vermont-made food, and there's an array of food, and there's great music. Alan Greenleaf is entertaining folks. The reason we have the Tour de Heifer is we try really hard to get people back on the farm, and it's a wonderful way to get people back on the farm. And Lilac Ridge Farm, when you are sitting there and it's a beautiful sunny days, and all of a sudden on the hillside you're seeing the cows come down, and there's music and there's food. It's sort of like an out of cow experience, should I say. It's just amazing. So it's really fun, and I really want to thank Lilac Ridge and the Thurber family for allowing us to do that. They work very hard to pull this together. It's a lot of work for the farm, and they have to stop what they're doing, and we're so appreciative of them welcoming the community. So even if you don't ride a bike and you just want to come and enjoy the music, have lunch, maybe take a gentle walk, it's just a wonderful community to be in. And I just want to thank the Thurber family for opening up the farm in such a warm way for the community.
So how do you sign up?
You could go to StrollingUpTheHeifers.com, and there's a tour link, and that will take you to the registration. And
of course the registration is on a sliding scale depending on how far you ride.
Well, actually the 30 and 60 mile are the same price. And that price does go up after May 18th. So if you sign up earlier.
But it's very reasonable in comparison to other rides, especially from what you get. For the 15 milers, I believe right now it's $15. For the 30 and 60 milers, it's $45. And it is very worthwhile, and it's growing every year. We have thus far more than doubled our participation. People are coming from all over the country. There are people from North Carolina, mostly from New England, but there are a lot of people from far away, which is wonderful for us to welcome them in such a way.
And believe it or not, people actually appreciate our hills. You don't hear that very often, but bikers who like to challenge themselves really enjoy the hilly landscape. I know it sounds weird, but it's a great part of the ride, actually.
Right.
And people talk about that. They love going up and they love coming down.
And when they come down, they're thinking of that lunch.
They are. There's a really long downhill before you get your lunch. So it's a great way to end the ride.
Yeah.
So I've neglected thus far to talk about really the highlight of the weekend, a parade of heifers through downtown Brattleboro. What and who are they accompanied by?
Well, the parade is the capstone of all this. And I have to tell you, every year I lead the parade. And I usually like to be in the background for these things, but I will tell you, it is so touching to see the crowd just welcoming the heifers and the 4-H club members and the farmers who are leading the heifers, which are baby cows. It's incredible. It's such a invigorating feeling that one can have. So, of course, they're the special mascots of the parade, but Strolling of the Heifers is about all agriculture. It's about dairy, it's about vegetables, it's about beef, it's about everything that has to do with agriculture. And following the heifers, there are amazing floats. And this year, for the first time, because the community suggested this, we're going to have prizes for the best floats that we have in the parade. And they'll wear the beautiful new certificate that we created for each one of those 3 best floats. So that should be exciting. And so we have anything from chickens to goats to llamas to horses, of course the heifers, missing things out. In the past we've even had camels. So it's a big Noah's Ark, and lots of community organizations are participating. Lots of our sponsors are participating in honor of the farmers, but mostly the most important people in the parade are the farmers and the 4-H club members.
Parade route will be between Flat Street and the Brattleboro Retreat?
Absolutely. And get there early. We have free buses. We recommend people coming down early. There's a lot of pre-parade entertainment on the street. And you can park your cars at the various parking areas, such as the high school. Free shuttle. Every 15 minutes it will run on a loop. It's free. And that's the easiest way to get into town, and people love that.
And I want to repeat our yearly plea.
Oh, yes.
If you have a pet, a dog.
And we all love them.
Well, of course we do. I mean, we're all animal lovers here. But really, the interaction between heifer and animal, and dog or 2 other dogs really is not acceptable in a large crowd. So please, leave your dogs at home.
Leave your dogs at home, and what we've seen, the people who bring them, it's just too exciting for the dogs, and it's really not fair to them to be in such a situation.
That's right. In fact, maybe when you leave your dogs at home, turn on BCTV.
That's right, they
or
can see it.
Brattleboro.org, you'll be able to see the parade live.
Absolutely. So, the parade, and also, Tim, for those who are not athletically inclined, we try to get people back on the farms. We have a farm tour that you can motor to. You can go to our website, www.Strolling of the Heifers, and sign up. It's free to visit the various farms, and we have different activities on those farms. There's 5 farms that we're working with who have planned a great deal. So, especially if you have guests from out of town, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And it's a wonderful way of supporting your farmers.
And where do you get the list of the fundraisers?
It's right on our website. Very quick 1-minute registration. You'll get all the information of what time to be at various farms. It really works out well. So I highly recommend going to our website again, www.strollingoftheheifers.com. All the information is there about the farm tour and the bike reg and the parade and everything else.
Gotta ask Hannah, do the area farmers appreciate all of this? Because, you know, you're in haying season and it can be a lot of hoopla.
It can be, and Lilac Ridge is nice enough to hay the parking area for us. And this year, in anticipation of perhaps more riders than we've ever had, we've asked the neighboring farm, the Winchester farm, and they've agreed to hay a portion of their field for parking as well. So we're really grateful for that.
That's perfect, especially the last couple of weeks have been great haying weather.
Yes. Although it's a little too early to hay for the parking area.
This is true.
But
hoping for something good around the 30th to be able to make all
exactly.
of that
About a
happen.
week in advance would be perfect.
There you are. So, 14 years. What happens beyond year 14 other than the fact that 15 is following 14? I mean, what plans do you have for future years already?
Well, it all evolves, and the community comes and provides us with wonderful feedback, and many of the ideas come from you. So if you have any new twists and turns or ideas, we'd love to hear them. We'd love for you to come and volunteer. We need tremendous amount of volunteers. People are calling constantly, but it takes about, I don't know, 300 or so people to help us put this together. And we have different shifts. You know, you can just do a 2-hour or you can do a full day or whatever. Vicki Friedman is our volunteer coordinator. She does an amazing job.
So you're saying if you'd like to volunteer your time, log on to StrollingOfTheHeifers.com.
Absolutely. Yes, and there's also volunteer registration on the incredible website that we have.
Perfect. I really want to say thank you to everybody. Hannah, of course, earlier, Beth, and Beverly, as well, Shanta and Stacy, and of course you.
Well, thank you, Tim. Do you know, Tim, this is our 14th year doing this.
Yeah, and we don't look a day over 13.
And by the way, everyone, Tim graciously volunteers every year to be the master of ceremony with fish at the parade.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, thank you so much. Mucho gracias.
Well, we'll take the bull by the horns again. Again, the Strolling of the Heifers, year 14, comes up the first weekend of June in Brattleboro. Be there or moose out. This is Tim Johnson. Please have a great time. See you at the Strolling of the Heifers.